last year in the Tour of the 4 days of Dunkirk.
Well, that costume is placed on the Gans squad as well. Now Finko, this time I think, is the real attack. A little bit of a slow realisation from the others as Sergei now comes through on the right of our picture. And Uchikov now has got the inside, and dancing around the back is Laurent Debian. He's not well known as a sprinter. Little bit of a hook there, I think, from Sergei Uchikov, and in fact Debian complaining about that as he crosses the line in first place. Hardly seconds have passed by. Here comes the sprint now. Zabel is in the thick of it. So too is Frédéric Moncassin, Fabio Baldato and Traversoni. New faces at the front, but it looks as though Zabel is going to clean up for the green jersey here. He's sprinting so well. On the line now, it's taken in fact by Moncassin ahead of Erik Zabel. Let's have a look at this again though. This is where he leans on Laurent Debian. And Debian, remember, not a pure sprinter, otherwise he probably wouldn't have hesitated there. He'd just gone through the gap anyway. But I don't think the judges are going to like that at all. And if they continue their trend, I'm afraid Sergei Uchikov is going to be relegated. And as he crosses the line on this slow motion picture, in fact, they are saying they have relegated him. So Uchikov has gone to third place. Debian will be declared the winner. This is the sprint for fourth, being taken by Moncassin. This is the incident, Paul.
Well, this is what the judges didn't like. They say Sergei Uchikov prevented Debian coming through. And at the end of the day, they gave the victory to the Frenchman, Laurent Debian. Carlo Finco, will he be happy with second place? And Uchikov not very happy with third.
In fact, that was very modestly put. In fact, he was fuming with third. He felt he should have been given the victory. Overall, no change at all today. And now, the day after the rest day, the riders have moved up into Saint-Étienne for a hilly time trial over 55 kilometres. This is stage number 12. Now, can this man fight back into the frame, knowing that his teammate is now the leader of the Tour?
Well, it'd be interesting to see just what tactics a lot of these riders adopt. Rumour has it that some of them are going to switch bikes halfway around the course. And at the moment, we're looking at the man wearing number 98. And that, in fact, was Cédric Vasseur.
And this is Abraham Olano making his start, and also didn't have a great run through the Pyrenees, Olano. Back out with Bjarne Riis, who's unaccustomedly a little bit low down the overall classification at the moment. Still to go and about to get the signal. Richard Virenque, the leader now in the King of the Mountains, and looking to win that for a record fourth year in a row.
Well, Olano looking very comfortable here. He's on a standard machine for the moment. The first part of this course is very hilly indeed. The riders, I think some of them will actually change at the top of the mountain onto the low-profile machines. But it's the day of reckoning for this man.
Jan Ullrich about to make the start. Now, can he give us confirmation as to his strength? The best time already finished, by the way, is by Frank van den Broek. 1 hour, 21 minutes and 8 seconds. This is the check at point number 3 at 41 kilometres. Pantani going through very quick time for him, 1:4:09.
Well, it certainly does show that this course suits the climbers, and it may well be that Richard Virenque can do something special. Time trialling is his weakness, but behind him on the road, this man is really making inroads into the lead of the little Frenchman.
And sorry about the little bit of picture breakup again. It's those trees on the right which is causing the problems. But now Jan Ullrich is setting the trend as we go along. Pantani has set the new mark at 1:4:09, much quicker than Van den Broek, and all of the others are slipping behind him. Now Riis is out on the road, and the last man, Virenque and Ullrich, they are the last two on the road.
Well, out on the course, Bjarne Riis putting a good time in. He's gone through the 41-kilometre mark in exactly the same time as Marco Pantani, while at the finish line, Fernando Escartin losing a little bit, coming across in 7th place with 1 hour, 21 minutes, 47.
Well, now look at this. Jan Ullrich here is beginning to pick up Richard Virenque. This is going to be a nasty surprise. I don't think Virenque really expected to be caught by Jan Ullrich, but he is firing this man from Germany. He's bridging the gap, and we're on the climb here. Now, which side is he going to pass him by? He's not too sure as he dodges around, but Richard Virenque, who's a great climber, has no answer to the pure strength of the German.
Well, the final few kilometres here, very fast indeed. And in fact, you can see that Jan Ullrich has changed to a low-profile machine. He's wanting to take advantage of the aerodynamics and try and push himself up to speeds over the closing metres.
And now Pantani is going to rewrite the leaderboard here. He comes in 1:20:06, confirming his great times out on the course. Marco Pantani in now with the best time. Still Riis, Olano, Virenque and Ullrich to finish. But we know now that Virenque has been caught for 3 minutes by Ullrich, although he's still trying to slip him.
Well, Bjarne Riis has faded quite a bit, Phil, over the last few metres, but he is going to go inside the time of Marco Pantani. That's the time to beat, 1 hour 20.06. And Bjarne Riis looks to me as if he's going to come in with the new best time, but he looks very slow coming over the final few metres here, as if he's really having to dig very deep indeed. There it is, new time, 1 hour 19.32.
34-second beating of Pantani as we go back out on the course. This is now the descent, the last 14 kilometres off the top of the mountain and down towards St Etienne. It's quite a tortuous descent, but it's very dry condition today, thankfully so. And now it looks as though this man is setting new trends, but we'll have to find out first if Olano's going to match anybody's time. It's been a good ride by Abraham Olano here. Bjarne Riis has got best. I think Abraham Olano might fall just a little bit outside of this. It's a long way up this straight here. Best time is 1:19.32. He's just going to be outside the time of Riis, so he'll go second on the board. So all of the stars are finishing very close together.
But this man is doing a great fight, Phil. Richard Virenque just in front of him there. He can see Jan Ullrich. He hasn't given up. He's been caught by a superior time trialist, but he's riding on courage. He doesn't want this man to blow him away.
Well, Virenque has made a very, very nervous descent down that mountain. He's closed the gap right up on Ullrich, who seemed to be pulling away. Look at this massive crowd here in the cycling capital of France. And now Ullrich is going to confirm he really is a top contender for final honours in this race. Ullrich, his time is amazing. He's way up on Bjarne Riis, his teammate and last year's Tour winner. He's 3 minutes in front, don't forget, of Richard Virenque, who is just behind him now. So he's conceding all of that time, as Ullrich is going to set a unique time here that nobody has approached all day. He's going to be minutes quicker than Bjarne Riis. This is going to be a Miguel Indurain style time trial for young Jan Ullrich. 1:16.24, 3 minutes quicker than Bjarne Riis. That is an amazing result for the German.
But you know, Richard Virenque's going to be happy, Phil, too, because that time that he will come in with will be good enough for second place.
So Richard Virenque did keep Jan Ullrich in his sights, but he lost 3 minutes nonetheless, and that's going to take a bit of recuperating, even for a climber in the Alps, which are now to come. And the road ahead really is a tough one now. Richard Virenque, though, retains second overall. On the stage, he's finished second as well, but conceding 3 minutes and 4 seconds to Ullrich. Riis was third, but he also conceded more than 3 minutes. Overall, Ullrich now leads this Tour by 5 minutes and 42 seconds over Richard Virenque. Abraham Olano is third, but 8 minutes back. Now they face the climb of Alpe d'Huez, 203.5 kilometres, for the 172 survivors of this Tour. This is going to be a tough one. They are now going to the Mecca of cycling, the Alpe itself. Well, in all the years that I've come to Alpe d'Huez, I've never seen an atmosphere quite like this. We've estimated perhaps 250,000 people are on its slopes. The Tour de France has arrived at the big mountain. We know there are 30,000 Danish making their way here. We know there are busloads of Pantani supporters, and I'm quite sure now there are indeed plenty of supporters for Jan Ullrich. Well, we've seen the German conquer the Pyrenees. We've seen him ride the brilliant time trial. Now, just how is this sporting revelation going to climb up Alpe d'Huez? Let's go to Paul Sherwin, who's now going to analyse his climbing style.
The most important thing about riding the mountain passes is trying to conserve as much power for as long as possible. Now, when I rode my first Tour de France, Barry Hoban said to me, when you're approaching a long climb like this with all these zigzag turns, the only way to do it is to go around the outside of the corner where it's not quite as steep. Now, the amazing thing about Jan Ullrich is he climbs with sheer power. As he comes up to the corners, you can see he's sitting very comfortably on his saddle, all of the power coming from the back part of his body and his thighs. But when he comes into the corner, he hugs the line right around the steepest part of the apex. If you've got a chance at home, go up one of the local climbs and try riding on the inside. You'll see just how tough it is. Once he then gets to the straight part, he accelerates away, not even getting out of the saddle, indicating this man climbs with pure power. But Alpe d'Huez has 21 corners like that. Does he have the power to be able to do it 21 times? I'm not so sure.
Well, we're about to find out, Paul, because the whole field are racing through the lovely little town of Bourg d'Oisans at kilometre 187. Very shortly they will turn left and the climb of the Alpe will be all before them because it's non-stop climbing right up to the finishing line. Feel basically all together here. It's been a gentle ride, but not all good news for everybody. Festina trying to get their men right into the launching pad, but at 54 kilometres today, Chris Boardman of Great Britain abandons the Tour in tears, suffering from crash injuries and torn neck muscles from his fall on the Col de Soulor. Right, well, on we go, Paul, and we're now heading up the mountain itself, and Festina in the driving seat again.
Well, every time there's a mountain coming, you know, they really will try and put Jan Ullrich and Bjarne Riis under pressure. Bjarne Riis still riding very well, but at the moment I think he's playing a secondary role to the man wearing the yellow jersey. This is Laurent Brochard at the front, no longer in the polka dot jersey, but now riding as a teammate for his own man, Richard Virenque.
And I wouldn't like to be in this bunch now, because the speed they approach Alpe d'Huez, and it is such a steep climb, but all of the domestiques trying to get their climbers to the start of it together. It is very, very quick as they race over the little river here. Now they'll turn left and then the climb will have begun. Alpe d'Huez is on the horizon. Well, I think this is really the climb everybody has been waiting for, Paul, and immediately the yellow jersey is there, the polka dot jersey is there, and Casagrande is there, and Riis is there.
Well, that's remarkable because, Phil, this is the mecca of the climbs for all of the climbers. Every climber wants to win here on Alpe d'Huez, and I'm quite sure Richard Virenque does as well, because he's never won a stage of the mountains in the Alps.
That's right, but he has won 2 stages in the Pyrenees as he now dances behind Jan Ullrich. This rider certainly isn't afraid to carry that maillot jaune right at the front of affairs, is he?
Well, it's amazing. He's now the leader of the Tour de France, and I would have thought that Bjarne Riis would have come to the front to help him out just a little bit, because he does need some encouragement. He does need somebody alongside him just to say, look, the team's here, we're still supporting you.
He's still looking for Bjarne Riis. He constantly looks over his shoulder to see where Riis is. He is an amazing rider. It's almost as if he's the reluctant leader of the Tour.
It's very strange to see him riding like this. There on the right-hand side is Elefantino, Marco Pantani, now nicknamed also El Pirato, the pirate. And he really is trying to put some pressure on these riders. Now he moves to the front, and Riis still looking very comfortable.
Well, he too has scored big victories in the Pyrenees, now looking for a win in the Alps as well. This is a savage acceleration by Pantani. This is on the early slopes of the climb as well. Virenque is the answer to it. He's right with him, but I wonder what damage he's doing behind. Everybody has filed out behind Marco Pantani. Ullrich is there as well. We saw Pantani throw his hat off just before he came through to start this acceleration. And this is the secret of good climbers, Paul, the way they can accelerate.
Well, it's not just that, it's the way they can accelerate again and again. And it's interesting to see this time Bjarne Riis is there. He's sitting on the back of this group of 4 riders, so it may well be that after the tough time he had in the Pyrenees, he has finally recuperated.
And Casagrande and Escartin are the losers there. The man we've also not mentioned, Abraham Olano. We haven't seen anything of him since the real attack started on this climb. Now we've got these 4 riders going up the slopes. I have never seen so many people on this mountain, and I've seen every climb here except the one of Fausto Coppi. I'm not quite as old as 1952.
But it was amazing driving here, you know, 40 kilometres, 25 miles of traffic jam just to get to the bottom of the slope here. It is remarkable. I think this is the greatest Alpe d'Huez we've witnessed in these recent years.
A perfect day as well. It's very often cold on this mountain at the top, but it's beautiful today. You can see the shadows of the riders. Now Pantani is setting the pace and looking for help from no one at the moment. And Ullrich, who started the tempo at the bottom, now content to follow. These 4 riders looking pretty solid just now.
Well, Pantani's great to see him back. There's the earring that's earned him the nickname of the pirate. He's just getting into a rhythm here, just putting the pressure on everybody else. Looks over his shoulders to see what sort of damage he's doing. But, you know, he really is flying, and I think most certainly he's back. And I was quite convinced after that crash he had in the Tour of Italy that we wouldn't see a great Marco Pantani here in the Tour de France. But I think he certainly is back, and he's great.
I don't think anybody seriously thought he would ever come back from the crash he had in Milan-Turin, which caused all of his problems, but he has come back. He is very much a part of this Tour again. Remember, he's had a 3rd place finish in the Tour de France, as well as winning a couple of stages.
So it's amazing to watch the difference between the 2 climbers at the front, Marco Pantani and Richard Virenque, bobbing around on the machines, using the upper part of their body to try and keep the gears going around, while all the time Ullrich is sitting down.
A glance at the second group here. We've just seen Olano. There's Jimenez, the champion of Spain. There's Olano, 151. Escartin is here. Now, this is interesting. That's Laurent Madouas also in this group. Now, look at this, Paul. We've gone back to the leaders just in time, because it looks as though they've cracked Riis.
Well, I think he's put the white flag up there because he couldn't stay with the pace being set by the two climbers. He's just going to ride at his own pace now and leave it up to Jan Ullrich in the yellow jersey to mark the two best climbers of this year's Tour de France, Marco Pantani and Richard Virenque. But still, Ullrich looking very calm, sitting down. It's amazing the power he uses when he climbs.
He's such a deceptive bike rider, sitting there solid as a horse. Now, further down, number one, last year's winner, is in desperate trouble yet again on the mountain she loved so much last year, where he gained all of his time in the Alps. Now, in the Alps, on the first day of serious climbs, like it was in the Pyrenees first day, Bjarne Riis is in difficulty. There's the flags that will cheer him on. The official figure coming out of Denmark was 30,000 spectators were all heading for the Alp.
Well, that's an awful lot of beer, I think, is going to be drunk tonight because the Danes certainly do like their lager. Marco Pantani, he's not thinking about beers at the moment. All he wants to do is try and crack the two men that are with him, because actually bear in mind, Phil, that he's the defending champion at Alpe d'Huez because the Tour didn't come here last year.
That's absolutely right. A winner here, of course, yes. And I'd almost forgotten about that, actually, Paul. But Pantani is the defending champion of Alpe d'Huez, and Bjarne Riis is the defending champion of the Tour de France. Now he knows the situation he's in. He knows that he's hitting just about his limit. Now he's going to have to settle down and hope he recovers as the climb goes on.
That's the only thing he can do. Find a rhythm that's comfortable for himself and hope that by the top of the climb he doesn't lose too much time. And these men at the front, though, really are flying up the mountain. The record as well for the ascent of the climb here held by Marco Pantani himself when he won the climb just a couple of years ago.
And that's circa 38 minutes as Pantani continues to keep the tempo here. And the crowd you can hear cheering all of the way, but this little climber staying out of the saddle now, riding on the bottom of the handlebars. No relaxed climbing at all from him. He's just keeping the rhythm high. He actually looks as though he might be causing a little bit of distress here to Jan Ullrich. He doesn't look as cool all of a sudden.
He is starting to bob and weave just a little bit, but it's amazing. Pantani has not asked anyone for any help. He's put everyone under pressure, and a man who thought he could ride well on the Alpe d'Huez, Luc Leblanc, also falling away from the leader. He's a long way behind.
Well, this hasn't been the season for poor old Luc Leblanc. He was looking set, and oh crikey, back to the leaders, and it looks as though Ullrich has cracked, unless Virenque opened the door and pulled round behind him.
Well, I think Virenque just couldn't stay on the wheel of Marco Pantani, and the reaction now has come by Jan Ullrich, and he's closed down on Pantani, the climber, so it just goes to show how strong the man from Germany is. To respond to an attack like that really is quite remarkable.
This is a superb piece of tempo riding, but very briefly, as I was saying about Luc Leblanc, he had all set to finish third in the Tour already. He had that spectacular crash in the time trial there, coming down a mountain, and I don't think he's really refound himself at all. He's struggled every day in this event.
The one man struggling now, Phil, is Richard Virenque. In fact, that acceleration out of the corner there has put the climber from France into difficulties, and he couldn't stay with the two leaders, so now just two men up the road, Marco Pantani in the yellow jersey of Jan Ullrich.
Well, the one thing that Richard can be sure of is plenty of support, but he's losing ground here, and this is the first time we've seen a little climber from France be attacked as well. But really, Pantani at 10 kilometres to go has just simply stayed out of the saddle. Now he's starting to go in and out of the saddle. He's kept the rhythm so high, and they've all tried and so far failed to match him. Only Ullrich again surviving.
Well, he'll get a lot of confidence out of that, because I think the man he will have been a little worried about on the climb of Alpe d'Huez is Richard Virenque. Once again, he gets out of the saddle, he accelerates, trying to put the pressure on Ullrich, because I think before the summit he'd like to get rid of this man from Germany. But look at the face on Richard Virenque. He's suffering like a dog, and all he can do now is just hope that he can pull himself back.
Well, he knows he has a little bit of time in hand, and it's probably just as well, because I think he's finally decided to let the little pirate escape. He's 9 minutes 11 seconds behind Jan Ullrich in the overall classification, lying 5th at the moment, and so every pedal rev now will gain time on everybody in the Tour.
Well, you see how Pantani went round the wide part of the corner there. It was not quite as steep. He came out of it, accelerated away, and the gap opened up immediately. Ullrich isn't panicking, though. He's just sitting there, setting a nice pace for himself, making sure that Pantani doesn't open up the gap too rapidly.
So Marco Pantani is doing what I think just about everybody on this mountain came to see him do. This magic little climber go away from the rest of the race. He is now pedalling a higher place in the overall classification for sure. He's not going to damage the lead of Jan Ullrich today. Ullrich perhaps wisely knows that. He's not crucifying himself trying to hold the back wheel of a man who is simply on a mission.
But it's amazing, he's always looking over his shoulder, trying to see exactly what's happening behind him. This time he's not looking for Ries. In fact, he's looking for the whereabouts of Richard Virenque. But Marco Pantani, well, his wings have come back.
This is the Battle of the Alpe, and the Italians have had a lot of success here. They started it back in 1952 with Fausto Coppi. Then came Gianni Bugno with a couple of wins. Then Roberto Conti got a win here, and that was his only win after 10 years as a pro, and still is. He's been a pro 14 years now. And now Pantani trying for a second time.
And interestingly enough, that Roberto Conti rides on the same team now as Marco Pantani. Worked very well this year in the Tour of Italy, and I think he's having his best Tour de France in several years as well.
Jean-Marie Leblanc, director of the Tour de France, also rode this race on 2 occasions in the late 60s, enjoying the best seat in the house just behind Jan Ullrich. But this is the man who is opening the waters. Here comes the Red Indian. I think he's Danish, this chap. I met him earlier on the slopes, but he certainly enjoyed his lagers today, and I don't think Pantani has any wish to hear any war cries down his left ear.
Well, maybe it was the smell of alcohol in his breath. Pantani wanted to get away because he feels with just 22 seconds advantage, he needs as much oxygen as possible.
But I have to say, the crowd here full of good humour, and they've come to see great sportsmen in action, and there's none greater than Pantani when he's climbing. Here we go, back to the slow motion now. There's a little tickle in the ribs to push the Red Indian to the left.
Well, the time gap's there, 22 seconds to Jan Ullrich, 42 seconds to Richard Virenque, and 1 minute 22 to Bjarne Ries. So Ries falling away quite rapidly.
This is not going to be the Tour of Bjarne Ries now, but it's still looking like the Tour of Jan Ullrich, because he's still second on this mountain despite the escape of Marco Pantani. Virenque isn't far behind. Casagrande, Ries, and we haven't caught sight of those for a while, but they are the next on the climb.
Here, in fact, he's joined by Francesco Casagrande, the Casagrande at the front in the red jersey. He's setting the pace, trying, I think, to make sure that Bjarne Ries and himself stay in the picture. But Marco Pantani, well, he's on a mission. He's looking to become the first rider to win 2 years in succession, I suppose, because the Tour didn't come here last year. So he's really hoping that he's going to be the champion and really walking himself into third place.
Well, let's hope so. And certainly if he does, he'll knock out Olano, because Olano has been lost on the early part of this climb today. He got dropped very early on. And Pantani's under the 4 kilometres to go banner. The Italian flag right alongside him there, but I bet that gentleman can't hold that pace too long as he wipes out half the crowd on the right.
The very dangerous part of the course here. He's just gone under the 4 kilometre banner. Once he gets to around about 3, then the barriers appear and it makes it a lot safer for the riders on the final few corners up into the town of Alpe d'Huez. But Pantani, well, nobody's going to touch him now as he goes under that banner.
And this is Ullrich now under the same 4 kilometre banner, and that's not too far behind. He's probably around about 25 seconds down at the moment, so he's not losing that much.
In fact, Richard Virenque is losing a little bit of time. His time gap there was 1 minute and 2 seconds. So the French climber falling away. But Phil, the crowds here are unbelievable. I don't remember ever seeing them as big as this.
Well, we used to say get there early in the morning a few years ago if you want to see this climb from a good spot. Then we altered that to get there the day before. Well, now we know there are many people coming here up to 3 days before just to claim their regular spot on the mountain.
This is the first time that Jan Ullrich would have experienced this climb with all the crowd out there. A lot of Germans have come now to the Tour de France as well to support this man, because I think they can see the makings of a champion, a new man on the block, the man who I think is probably going to dominate the Tour de France for the next few years. But Phil, just look at the crowds.
Well, officially they're telling us that 750,000 people are lining the 9 miles of Alpe d'Huez today. That might be an exaggeration, but when you see shots like that, I'm no longer sure it is. And Marco Pantani has now got himself between the barriers, the safe stretch of the course. These barriers put up after that debacle we had a few years ago when Fabio Parra was brought literally to a standstill by the crowd and the block cars. But a fine right-hand turn by Marco Pantani. Taking your advice there, Paul, he went round the outside.
But I don't think he expected to be going quite that fast. He's flying up the final kilometre here of the Alpe d'Huez. But, you know, I hope he doesn't make the mistake he made 2 years ago, because he also nearly lost it in the final left-hand bend to the finish and went straight on into the parking lot.
Well, this time I think he'll be guided simply by the crowds and the barriers. We're now into the lovely town here on the top of the mountain of Alpe d'Huez. This town literally opens for the arrival of the Tour de France. In the next 48 hours, it will have all closed down again, awaiting the ski season. But at this time of the year, in July, it is vibrant, and there are thousands of people here now. We're going into the lower slopes of its streets, and then it will climb steadily to the summit.
Again, Ullrich riding very sensibly, still hovering around 25 seconds behind Marco Pantani. He's not pulling anything back, but I think he'll be very happy with the ride that he's put in today. But Pantani now into the town square. Across the town square, he'll get the left-hand turn, and then it'll be up to the finish.
He's got about 600 metres lead over Jan Ullrich as he heads up towards the finish. That's around 35 seconds. All the road is his now as he moves into the last 500 metres to the line. There'll be the sharp left-hand turn where even Greg LeMond has made a mistake at one occasion finishing here. You've got to watch it. It's easy to overshoot it, but Pantani now, this victory is going to be equally as special to him as Zabel's revenge on his disqualification last week was to him, because this means he is back as a big-time climber. He didn't have time to see himself on the big screen there as he swung round the left-hand bend, but now he's going to win this stage the second time in succession, although there's a gap of 1 year in between. Marco Pantani of Mercatoni Uno will be the winner at Alpe d'Huez today. He will gain time on everyone. He will climb up the overall classification as well. This is going to be a great feeling for him. He gets the victory, 203 kilometres covered. He's the first to the top of the Alpe, and the gap is around about